Sangye Chönam Sangye Chönam La Janjo Bardo Nan Dangye Jesu Gebe Cholam Janjo Bardo Nane Dangye Jola Benjere Zanjo Bardo Nane Dangye Jesu Gebe Cholam Sangye Jo Bara Dangye Mbege Mendra Gamye
like a fire, with the ember, which is like a sleeping fire. So when you blow onto the ember, it will glow and then the fire will start. So just like that, bodhicitta is like an ember. So it's there, but we need to sort of blow on it. We need to practice. We need to cultivate it to for the bodhicitta to come out in full form. That's why it's called arousing bodhicitta. So the name of the chapter is arousing bodhicitta. Sometimes we call it generating bodhicitta. So basically they're the same thing. So arousing is a more befitting term because arousing means something that is within yourself. You cannot arouse something that is not within yourself. To generate, it doesn't have to be within yourself, but to arouse something, it has to be within yourself. So arousing bodhicitta, the root of the great vehicle. That is the chapter. That is the name of the chapter. Yep. Okay. So there's a line in the beginning, which is through your great wisdom, you have realized nirvana. So basically, this is a praise and a prayer or a praise made to the Pedro Rinpoche's teacher. Through your great wisdom, you have realized nirvana. Through your great compassion, you unwillingly embrace samsara. Sorry, willingly embrace samsara. Through your skill in methods, you have realized that they are no different. Fearless teacher, at your feet I bow. So this is a very so it says that through the wisdom, through the practice of wisdom, through the cultivation of wisdom, the teacher is able to, through the cultivation of wisdom, the teacher is able to, get to get into realized nirvana or into the Buddhahood. But he doesn't rest there. Just like I mentioned earlier, the teacher does not rest there in the Buddhahood, but instead comes back into this, comes back to this world to help other sentient beings. So through your, and the reason the teacher comes back to this world, even though he is a Buddha, he doesn't stay in the land of the Buddhas, where everything is perfect, but comes down to samsara where everything is imperfect. And the reason he comes back to this world is because of the compassion. So there's the wisdom and the compassion. So usually we call it the two wings. So the wing of the wisdom actually gets you to nirvana. The wing of wisdom gets you to Buddhahood. But once you get to the Buddhahood, you don't just stay there. And you come back to help other sentient beings. And that is actually because of the other wing, which is the wing of compassion. So if you have only one wing, if you have just the compassion wing, then you can never get across the ocean of samsara. You can never cross over samsara. You will have a very good heart, very good compassion, and that's it. You feel compassion and love for all the sentient beings, and that's it. You cannot do anything. You are like someone with a broken leg. You cannot go where you want to, you may have so many places that you wish to go, but you cannot go there yourself. You can just mentally go there. You cannot go there physically. But with wisdom, you get the legs. You get the legs of capability. So you are able to walk across or fly across the ocean of samsara. So these two wings, wing of the, or the two legs, you can call it. Usually we call it the two wings. So the two wings of compassion and wisdom, or the two legs of compassion and wisdom, actually gets you across the ocean of samsara and makes you come back to samsara again to help other sentient beings. So this is a very profound way of praising your guru. So you're not saying, oh, your guru is a very good speaker or very nice looking, that kind of thing. But you are saying that the guru has this true capability, the true capability, which is to get across the ocean of samsara. And then also, once you get across the ocean of samsara, you don't forget everyone else and just go away forever. You come back and help others and beings. So that's the what is that. So that's why it's a very profound praise. All right. So the chapter is arousing bodhicitta, and this has three sections. So the three section, the first is the training our mind in the four boundless qualities, or sometimes we call it the four immeasurables, or the four infinite qualities. So basically, they're the same thing: infinite, boundless, immeasurable. So we call it the four immeasurable. Sometimes we call it the four boundless qualities. Sometimes we call it the four infinite qualities. So basically, they're all the same. And that is the first one. And then the second one, the second section is the arousing the bodhicitta. Arousing the bodhicitta. The third is the mind turned towards supreme enlightenment, and training in the precepts of the bodhicitta in exploration and the bodhicitta in application. Oh yeah. So that's the four boundless qualities. So to begin with, before you start developing compassion, you need to develop joy, or you need to develop love. And in order to develop love, you need to develop joy. In order to develop joy for someone or something, you first need to set an equal set an equal ground. So that's where the equanimity comes. So Tangyum, that's the Tibetan word for equanimity, is Tangyum, right? And so in English, we call it equanimity. So a more easier, more simple simple term would be impartiality. So like not being partial, not being biased, unbiased. So that is the meaning of Tangyum. So we can call it impartiality, we can call it unbiasedness, or we can call it equanimity. So basically they are the same thing. It just means to make everything equal. And so the Tibetan word is to for that is tang nyum. So there are two words there. One is tang, and the other one is nyum. Tang and nyum. So the first word tang means to let go, to free, to give up, to let go, to free. That's the first word tang. And nyum means to make level. Like, when you are building a house, you have to level the ground, make everything equal. So the Tibetan word for impartiality or the equanimity has two words, tang and nyum. Tang meaning to give up or to let go, and then nyum meaning to level. So what we are letting go is we are letting go of our hatred towards the people that we dislike, and we let go of our attachment toward the people that we like. So basically, there are three types of people in this world: the people that we are close with, that we like, the people that we are not close with, distance with, like we do not like, we don't want to be near them, in contact with them, avoid these kind of people. So there are the people that we cannot do without them, one kind, and then there are the people we cannot do with them at all. And then there are the people, there are also a lot of people who are kind of like stranger for us. Whether they come or go, we don't care, we don't mind, we don't know about them. So majority of the people in the world belong to the last section, which is the people who are alien to us, people who are stranger to us. Most of the people in this world are stranger to us. We may have, 3,000, 4,000 friends online on Facebook like that, but most of them are not our real friends. So most of us, we may have like 50 to 100 people we are close with, and that's also a stretch. So a lot of us have about 10, 5, 3, that kind of close friends. And then when it comes to people we dislike, in the book, in the text, we call it the enemy. So it's not something like an enemy that we want to destroy, but something that we cannot live with. So these are called the enemies that are basically our adversaries. It can be in your family, it can be in your office. So in your life, there are people who you cannot be with, no matter how close you are with them physically, mentally or psychologically. You are so distant from them. You cannot stand even 1 minute with them. So these are called as the enemies. And then there are people we have no idea about at all. So basically just strangers. So all these three kind of people are the enemies, the friends, and the strangers. But these three are, so you give up attachment. You give up the attachment towards the people who you are close with or you're in love with. You give up hatred. You give up impatience, hatred towards people you hate, toward those who consider to be enemies. And you give up negligence, you give up your negligence towards people whom you consider as as strangers. So basically, tang is to give up, and to give up the negligence towards strangers. You give up hatred toward the enemies, and you give up the attachment towards your loved ones. So that is what makes you that is practice of tang, not to give up, and then to level up, to make things level. And by doing that, you practice in impartiality, or unbiasedness, or the equanimity. That is the practice of. So now the impartiality, or the normally we translate it as equanimity, right? So first we need to set the ground level. So we have to set the equal ground, so that everyone is equal. There is a so there is the enemy, there is the friend, and there's the stranger. So these three things we cannot ignore. There are people we dislike, there are people we very much like, we very much dislike, and we very much don't know about. So these three things are reality. We cannot ignore them, first of all. So if you ignore them, it's not going to work. You are ignoring reality. So what we do is we acknowledge the reality. There are people we like, there are people we do not like, and there are people we do not know about at all. So these three things, first we have to acknowledge. The problem is, if you do not acknowledge that, if you say, okay, I do not have any love for that person, or I do not have any hatred or anger for that person, or I do not know anything about that person, that is actually wrong. So like any human being in this world, we all have our emotions, happy emotions, unhappy emotions, and ignorant emotions towards these three beings: friend, enemy, and stranger. So that is the reality. So we have to accept the reality first. And after accepting the reality, what we have to think is our enemies, our friends, and the people we call strangers, they are all same. We have to develop equanimity for them by thinking that we are all same, right? So if you do not practice, if you do not cultivate the practice of equanimity, then we will think, oh, the enemies are something that we must avoid. The friends are something that we must embrace, and the strangers are something that we can completely ignore. Enemies to be avoided, friends to be embraced, and strangers to be ignored. So that is our understanding. But we tell ourselves that our friends, enemies, and strangers, they all are, we should develop equanimity for them because they all are same like us in the pursuit of happiness. So our enemies want to be happy just like our friends. Our friends want to be happy just like our enemies. And the strangers, the complete strangers, there are 7 billion people in the world. All of them, all of them want to be happy, want to avoid unhappiness, want to avoid any sickness, any depression, anything negative they want to avoid, anything positive they want to embrace. So we all are same. We all have the same goal. We all have the same pursuit. For that reason, so there are many different reasons. We can talk about this later. But the main simple reason is that our enemies, our friends, and the strangers, we all have the same goal, which is the pursuit of happiness. We all want to be happy. We all want to be satisfied, content. None of us want any misfortunate things to happen to us. So for that reason, our enemies also deserve the same right as our friends, just as and the strangers also deserve the same right to be happy as our friends. So our enemies and our friends and the strangers, all of them deserve the same right to be happy as myself. So for that reason, even though our approach may be different, our path may be different, but the goal is same. So for that reason, we are trying to get to the same goal through different routes, through different paths. So for that reason, instead of fighting amongst us, instead of distancing each other by saying, oh, this is our enemy and we should avoid them, this is our friend and we should be attached to them, this is a stranger and we should completely ignore them, instead of saying that, we should embrace all of them together. And so that is where the impartiality comes in, the equanimity comes in. Huh? Oh yeah. So, so, mm, mm. So here in the book it says there's a quote from the master sublime noble, the noble master Katyana, and we will go into that first. We will go into that later. So first, here Peter Rinpoche says that as things are of now, we are very much attached to those we think as part of our own group, like our family, relatives, father, mother, etc. And then we feel some sort of an intolerable aversion, anger and grief and all these things towards basically unstoppable emotions towards people that we dislike, people either in our work life or in our family life, etc. It can be our spouse, it can be our siblings, and sometimes we cannot stand them. So basically, what Pedro Rinpoche was saying is then, there are the people whom we call enemies and friends, and then the complete strangers. So these things, if we don't investigate or if we don't observe, for the unobserved eye, these things, all these things, the enemy, the friend, and the stranger, look so solidly true. So everything seems to be inherently true and solidly there, very concrete. But then if we are to investigate, then we will know that nothing is concrete, nothing is solid, especially those we call enemies has been our friends for thousands of lifetimes. And due to some karmic the twist, the karmic twist, they were born as our enemy in this lifetime. We have basically, to be born as a sibling, to be born as a child, a daughter or a son of, it actually means you have a very good sort of a karmic relation. That's why you are born as the son or the daughter or the sibling of this and that person. But at the same time, we have so many sibling rival, not just rivalry, but like animosity between brothers and sisters, animosity between parents and child, and even if it's not animosity, there is distance between parent, the mother and the daughter, the father and the son, between spouse whom you, husband and wife, you become husband and wife because you love each other and you are together because of your own decision, because of karma and all that. But still you are, so you are again fighting with each other. You can no longer stand each other like that. So what it shows is that nothing is concrete. Something that we call love and we take for granted does not stay like that forever. Something or someone we take for animosity and enemy does not stay like that forever. So the people whom we consider to be our, the love of our life, something that is the most precious thing in my life or our lives, in many previous life, they have been our enemies and we have negative things. They have been very cruel and bad to us. And due to karmic twist, they were born as someone in our family, as our brother, as our sister, etc. Because we have so many, when we were enemies, we try to harm each other. And then we have so many karmic debt to be paid off. And so that karmic debt turned into karmic twist. And then we, we become loved ones or siblings and, etc. And then basically children, the parents earn so much just for the sake of their children, and the children grow up, everything that the children, the parents have worked so hard, the children take them. In many culture, that's how it happens. Or even in most cultures, basically parents, either the children take, in many cultures, children take away everything from the parents, or in most culture, the parents keep a lump sum, a big sum of money for the kids. Basically, the whole the whole dedication, whole dedication of your life, everything that you say for your life is for the sake of your children. So your children are actually have come there to this life to take away the karmic debt that you have to pay in your previous life as your enemies, maybe as your debt collector, whatever. You have a huge debt to pay to that person which you did not pay. And in this lifetime, they were born as your children, and they take away everything that you have worked and earned so hard. So such and such things are possibility. I'm not saying, many of you are mother and father, so there are many parents here. So I'm not saying everyone is like that, but this is something that you cannot, it is not out of possibility. It is still very much a possibility. And so I will come into this a little later. So basically, just because someone is born as someone is your loved one, or someone is born to you, or this kind of thing, doesn't mean that love and that bond is like concretely, inherently concrete. It can be due to many reasons why there is that bond, there is that love, and etc. And those people whom we call enemy, they are also not necessarily bad from the very beginning, from time immemorial. they can, in many past lives, they have been very close to us, but because we have not, there are many times we betray our friends. So when we betray our friend, there is also a negative sort of negative connection develops between them, and then that can actually develop into animosity in future lives or in the future. So that's why we have arguments with friends, we have close connection with our enemies, etc. So basically, nothing is impermanent and nothing is predictable in that sense. So so that's why in samsara nothing is predictable, and in samsara, so the Master Katyayana, so the line which I'm going to read after this, the Arya Katyayana, the Master Katyayana, he said the samsara, the whole world of samsara is a laughing stock. The whole world of samsara is something laughable. There is nothing predictable, nothing permanent, and it's a laughing stock. The line, the lines from the observation made by Arya, the Master Katyayana, Sublime Master Katyayana, is that he. So this is the line. He eats his father's flesh. He beats his mother off. He dandles on his lap his own unfortunate enemy. And the wife is gnawing at her husband's bones. I love to see what happens in samsara's show. Samsara's show. So this is the observation. So Arya Katyayana, Master Katyayana, Sublime Master Katyayana. Sublime means the noble one. So the noble Master Katyayana. So when, just like any monks during that time, so he was doing the alms round, going begging for food to each family. So when he was going round for the alms, when he was going for the alms round, begging for food, then he observed two family. There were, one is on the top of the village, and one is at the bottom of the village. So basically two families at each end of the village, and they are like they are sworn enemies. They hate each other. They really try to get each other's throat. So these two families, so one day the father of the upper family passed away, and then the upper family, the father of the one of the family passed away, and was born as a fish in the river. And the mother also passed away, and the mother was born, his own mother, basically the parent, the father and the mother of the one of the families, his own parents, one was born as a fish, and the other was born as a stray dog, was as a dog basically. And so his sworn enemy from the lower the lower village. So there are two family, right? One in the lower village and the one in the upper village. So the one in his sworn enemy from the lower village, he passed away, and he was born as the son to the wife of the upper village, the wife of the man from the upper village. Basically, his own enemy passed away and was born in his own family. His sworn enemy died and was born as his son. So your enemy died, and now your enemy come back as your son. So what he was doing is, so his own father was born as a fish, his mother as a dog, and his enemy as his own son. So what he was doing is, so when the Katyayana, Master Katyayana, when he went to beg for food, he saw that the man was eating fish. So the fish that he was eating is actually the flesh of his own father, who died and was born as a fish. So basically, he was eating his. So if you think of it in a very concrete way, like we think of everything, our enemy, our friend, everything we think in a very concrete manner. So if you think it that way, that person is actually eating his own father's flesh, because his father died and now born as a fish, and he's eating that fish. So he was eating his father's flesh. At the same time, there's a stray dog coming. A dog is coming into the house, and he was so angry with the stray dog, and he tried to hit the stray dog, kick it away, kick it out. And that stray dog was none other than his own mother, born as a stray dog, born as a dog in the street. And then he was taking care of his son, very lovingly, very caringly. He was taking care of his son. That son is none other than his own enemy, which is born in his family. So because he has, when they were enemies in the past life, he actually has many karmic debt to pay off. So the enemy, his sworn enemy, his worst enemy, was now born as his own son. And at the same time, the mother, his wife is eating some chicken, some other meat, and that meat actually was the basically, that chicken is actually her husband, that wife's husband, who also passed away, was born as a chicken in this family. So she was actually eating the chicken, which is none other than her own husband in the past life. So basically, the mother, the wife is eating her own husband's legs. The husband is eating his father's flesh. He's beating his own mother, and he's holding his own sworn enemy in his hand. So that's why. So when Master Katyayana went into beg for the alms, he saw this thing. So in a way, it's a very it's a pitiful state. It's a very sad story. But then when you look at it, the whole samsara is like that. And Acharya Katyayana, Arya Katyayana, Master Katyayana, it's a very pitiful state. It's a very sad state. But the reason Master Katyayana said it's a laughing stock, samsara is a laughing stock. So the last line is, I laugh to see what happens in samsara's show. So the reason he said that is, even though it's like that, it's such a pitiful state that you are taking care of your enemy, you are beating your father, and you are beating your mother and eating your father's flesh and your husband's flesh, etc. So the reason it's a laughing stock is because we think all of this is true. So because whatever the appearance is, when it appears as our enemy, we think this is concretely true, and we are so angry, we are so averse to those people we call enemies. And when they appear as our friends, we are so much love and so much in attachment with those whom we call our friends. So basically, whatever appears, when it appears as a dog, you try to beat it. When it appears your mother, you try to love it. When it appears as your son, you try to care for it. So basically, whatever appears, whatever appearances, whatever form of appearances it takes, we take it for granted. We take it in a concrete manner, and we hold on to it. And that's why it's such a funny thing. It's a laughing stock. It's a laughing matter for Master Katyayana. Not the state. The state is very pitiful state. It's a very, very sad state. The condition of what is going on is very samsara. The condition of samsara is very sorrowful, very, very sad. But at the same time, the way people living in samsara take everything for granted, to take everything to be concretely true, that is a laughing matter. Okay, so I conclude here in today's topic. Then open for Q&As.
Okay, Rinpoche, I think we have two questions.
Sure.
We'll read the first one. Rinpoche, for those we consider enemies, is it important to consider how they feel, or it is important for us to only pay attention to how we control our emotions?
Mhm.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Yeah, so both are important. Both are important, and I think understanding their side of the their side of the story, their side of the if you understand things, if you look at it from their side of the view, you will see a different picture, because they think they are right from their own side, and so I think I'm right from my own side. So you think you are right, I think I'm right. But if I am able to see from their side of view, then things will start to diminish, things will start to de-escalate. So that's one thing. So looking at it from the other person's point of view, or from their side, what the emotions, what kind of emotions the other person is going through is also important. But mainly because this is a spiritual practice. So spiritual practice is not to control other people. It is to control yourself. It is to basically master yourself. Not, maybe control is not the right word. So basically, spiritual practice is to master your own, become your own master, not to become the master for other people, but to become your own master. So you can never become the master of the whole universe. You can become the master of like 10 people, 50 people, 100,000 people, and that's about it. So at the end of the day, you will have to bow down to someone else. So the only way you can master the universe, if you like, that is only by mastering yourself, or mastering your mind. So if you remember the analogy, the metaphor made by Shantideva, which he said, in order to protect your feet, in order to protect your feet, if you try to cover the whole world with leather, there is no sufficient leather enough to cover the whole universe, the whole world. But if you just cover your 2 feet, then wherever you walk, your feet are protected. So mastering other is not the main goal. Mastering yourself is the goal. So it is important. So answer to your question is, it's important to understand the other people's point of view, but at the same time, when we do Dharma practice, we're not trying to control other people. We are trying to master ourselves, and that should.
Okay, thank you, Rinpoche. Next question. Rinpoche, how can we determine when our karmic debt has been repaid? For instance, if our siblings or relatives constantly rely on us for assistance, and we have been providing them with help, but they continue to ask for more, and we feel that we cannot continue to provide the assistance, is it still considered a repayment of our karmic debt is not done?
Oh yeah, this is a very good question, very important question. I think very much relatable to a lot of people here. So this is the thing, okay? We have to help everyone, right? Not just our loved one, etc. Everyone, as a Buddhist Dharma practitioner, we have to help everyone we can. And then comes to your exact question, like your relatives and your loved ones and your near one. These people, you must help them to the extent that you can. Okay, so always you have to know your own capabilities, how much you can help them. So you have to help them to a certain degree, to a degree that you are able to help. One thing, and then also remember in the beginning of this book, the beginning of this class today, there was a line saying, the praising the teacher of Rinpoche, where he says he praises the teacher's compassion, and he also praises the teacher's wisdom. So compassion and wisdom should go hand in hand. So there are, in many cases, when one of the relatives is better off and the other one is not so well off, then sometimes they try to take advantage of you. That is also a case. So you have to check whether they are trying to take advantage of you or they are genuinely in need of help, because you yourself are also not perfect, right? You yourself have financial problem, emotional problem. you also have your own emotional, financial, and family problem. All these things are still there. So when other people ask you to help, you have to sort of balance everything. You have to basically you have to use your wisdom. So to put it simply, wisdom means to put in a very common man's understanding, common man's language. Wisdom means common sense. You have to use your common sense. You have to analyze, and if you understand that the people are trying to take advantage of you or not, you have to check that. Basically, compassion is very important, but you should not be foolishly compassionate. Okay, so compassion and foolish compassion are two different things. You have to be wise, compassionate person. So as I said, there has to be the two wings: one wing of compassion, one wing of wisdom. So you have to make sure. So wisdom means not just checking whether that person really requires your help or not. So let's say you have been helping them for last 20 years, 30 years, or up until now, and so if they are asking for more, has they made any sort of improvement, not just because of the money or the financial, because of the support that you gave, not just in their lifestyle, not just in their living standard, but also in their lifestyle. So change in living standard would be there because you have been helping them all the time. But if you have to check whether their lifestyle has changed or not. So if there is a change in their living standard, but not in their lifestyle, then actually they're not doing what they're supposed to do. So you should be very wise in aiding, supporting them. So you have to be wise. So usually, there's a saying: if you feed if you give a fish to a man, he will survive for one day. If you teach a man how to fish, then he will survive for a lifetime. So basically, you have to be very wise as to change their lifestyle, not just their living standard. So if you keep supporting changing their living standard or upgrading their living standard, then they will be constantly in dependence on your support. But if you change their lifestyle, if you are able to convince them to change their lifestyle, then they will be able to get on their own feet and be able to look after themselves. So there's a distinction between the two. So there may be some of your relative and people who cannot work, who cannot do anything by themselves, who just basically does not have any capability to do anything. So these people, you have to look after them your sort of whole life as much as you can. Your own family, your own life, everything is also very important. It's primary. If you fail to look after your own family and look after others, then your family will be in disarray, your family will be destroyed, and then you will suffer. And when you are suffering, you cannot make other people, you cannot give happiness to other people. So you have to bring happiness to yourself first. So you have to look after your family. And when there is something extra, then you can help others as well. So therefore, if the person is in genuinely need of something, then you should help them. But if they're just trying to take advantage of you, then you should be able to able to notice that, to able to recognize that as well. So basically, compassion is very important, but compassion with wisdom is the key here. So compassion without wisdom is, we call this blind compassion. So blind compassion actually will, compassion is good, but a blind compassion will actually drag both the other person and yourself down instead of lifting both of you up. But if you have wise compassion, then it will bring you up as well as the other person. So you want a very sort of a wide sort of compassion, very wise compassion. That is what we should try to strive for.
Thank you, Rinpoche. So is the follow-up question is that, so it's related to the karmic debt, right? It's whether it's repaid or not. What if we cannot continue to help anymore, even if they really need help? Is it considered that our karmic debt is not repaid? Thank you, Rinpoche.
So your question, the last question was, how do we know whether our karmic debt has been cleared or not? So that actually we can understand, like there's no like common science here. It's the science are not available for like common people like us. We need to meditate, and then we will actually have realization through meditation. So it's not like, okay, or if that person is smiling at you, then that means he is no longer, the karmic debt is clear. Or if he is not smiling, then the karmic debt is not like that. So there is no common science. There is no ordinary science here. It's you can recognize that only through meditation. Okay, that's your to the last question. So the current one is the follow-up one. What shall we do if we cannot do anything for them, even though they genuinely need help? So there are many cases like that. So if your loved one is in such a such a serious condition, like let's say in a very very severe illness is there, and then there is no medical help, you know, even if you pay all the money in the world, you can still not save them. So these things also happen, right? So when these things happen, you have done what you can do, and there is no, at the end of the day, we have to acknowledge that we are living in samsara. So because we were born, we will die. Because we were born, we will die. Because we are well, that means we will be unwell too. We will get sick, we will get cold, we will get flu, we will get different kind of ailments. So that is life, because our body is imperfect. It is filled with the potential. Our body has the potential to be sick. So we will be sick, we will die. So basically, because it's made of flesh and bones, it will degenerate. So these things will happen. So basically, your answer to your question is, what shall we do when we did everything and then there's nothing can help? So that is when we actually have to pray. So you might find this very funny for me to say this, but when nothing works, then you have to pray. So prayer is never the first option. Prayer is either the last option, and prayer always has to complement with the action. So when you try to help someone through physically, mentally, or verbally, you try to speak nice to a person, you try to uplift that person. So, and when you are helping that person, a sick person, a hungry person, whatever, when you help that person, at the same time, you pray for them. And then there are people whom you cannot help. So in the world, there are millions and millions of poor people that we cannot help. Millions of people who are much worse off than ourselves, you know, going through very, very difficult situations. So these people, we cannot help them physically or verbally, mentally also. So to these people, we offer our prayers. So when we do prayer, prayer is not an empty promise, okay? So this is what you have to understand. So when you think prayer is an empty promise, then that's also a big problem. So also when you do everything and nothing works, then you also offer prayer, okay? So there might seem something like a contradiction, but I have to make it, there's no contradiction here. So you do whatever you can, financially, emotionally, physically, whatever you can do for them, you do for them. If possible, at the same time as you are helping them, pray for them too, okay? If you cannot, then you did your financial help, physical help, emotional help, everything, and still nothing works, then that's when you offer your prayers. So prayer is not an empty promise. Prayer is actually, if you are doing a traditional Tibetan prayer, these prayers were written by great masters who make a very strong commitment and have achieved high realized attainments. So when you utter those words, when you recite those words, they generate very powerful energies, okay? So basically, if you do not know any very complex mantras or complex recitation, you can just do Om Mani Padme Hum, you can do Om Mani Devashi, like Medicine Buddha. So different mantras for different, if you are familiar with Tibetan Buddhism, that you know that there's one mantra for every situation, in Tibetan Buddhism, every situation, if you are in debt, if you are in danger, if you are in pain, if you are lacking in wisdom, every situation there is a mantra for that. So you don't have to do very complex practices, but a short mantra will also do. So when you recite those mantras, these mantras are consecrated, blessed by enlightened beings. So when you recite those mantras, it generates very positive and strong positive vibrations or energy, you may call them. So these energies were sent, like we sent, like right now I'm talking to you from very far away. All of you are staying in another country, different places, like thousands of kilometers through the internet, through the wavelength of the internet, we have the frequency, we are able to communicate. So my energies, my verbal and as well as my the display of my physical expression has also been sent to you. So you can see that I'm looking at you, I'm smiling at you, I'm not smiling, everything. So you can see that similarly when you pray, so invented maybe 2-3 decades ago, but sharing or sending positive vibes through the spiritual wavelength, or basically prayer, is done thousands of years, not just in Buddhism, but in other traditions too. So basically when we pray, we send positive energy to those people, so they also get some benefit out of that. It depends whether they are they're receptive to the prayer or not. If they are like just closed down, then that's a different thing. But if they are open, receptive to the prayer, then they will actually be able to receive the energy through which they will be able to get some benefit. And okay, so can you please share the mantra for death? So mantra. Okay. So basically, the mantra for Zambala. The mantra for Zambala is, you can with that, because the Zambala is the god of fortune. So the deity of fortune. So fortune does not mean just money. Fortune means when you have money, and money is able to bring happiness, loyalty, not just money, but like when there is loyalty, there is happiness, there is harmony, everything, and the longevity, good health, everything in the house, that's called the fortune. So Zambala is the deity of fortune, the god of fortune. So Zambala is one of those deities which we can pray to clear your debt, karmic debt or whatever. So Om Zambala Zalenda Eswa, that is the Zambala's mantra. And then there is the Vaishwanaya, which is sometimes known as the Om Vaishwanaya. And what else? And there is the Om, I don't remember exactly right now, but the yellow Tara, the green Tara, white Tara, like that. So yellow Tara, so mantra is a little bit different, I think. Yellow Tara, but you can do the mantra of the general Tara, Om Tara Tutara Ture Soha, because Tara has 21 different aspects. 21 different aspects mean 21 different missions. So one of the mission is to eradicate poverty, eradicate financial deficiency, right? So basically, the yellow Tara, which is a form of Tara, yellow Tara is the deity of good fortune. So yellow Tara, Vaishwanaya, and then you have Zambala. So these are all the mantras of these deities you can recite to clear your debt.
Rinpoche, you said that you can use many mantras for prayer for the others, or we can use only one mantra.
You can use different mantra.
Different mantra.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So you can use either the Zambala. Okay, so some people like female god. Okay, some people like male god. Some people like fat god. Some people like bearded god. Okay, so that's why you have different gods available. So in Tibetan Buddhism, you will see so many different gods. Some gods are fat, some gods are yellow, some gods are old, some gods are young, some gods are male, some gods are female. So you can choose. You don't have to go with Zambala alone. You don't have to go with Tara alone. You don't have to go with Veshwanaya alone. But there are many different gods, many different deities, which is there to help you clear off your, the financial. Oh yeah. So it's all about your connection. So some people have more stronger connection with Zambala. Some people have more stronger connection with Tara, like that. So some people, when they just see the picture of Tara without any explanation, without any teaching, just start to cry, start to have a very strong bond. So it depends on which deity, is your deity. It depends on the connection. Oh yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Come on. Okay. We do dedication. Yewan Diye Nyodo Na Lama Sanye Chubyo Nen Chowa Shekya Malu. Ye Salon Gubara Shu Janjo Semjo Rembo Chema Ye Banama Ye Yewa Nyamba Meba Yang Gong Oh, I will not. I enjoy Lord, I enjoy be shy, blind, so wide. Oh, I enjoy be shy, blind, so.
Bề ninh bộ chim bay béo ngà sinh nam mang được cư lô sang cho kỳ số cho con tu để tu
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye. Thank you. Thank you.